Thank you very much. My name is Tim Moss. I played Miss Lily. But please keep that going for these incredible people. The writer, director, composer, lyricist, arranger, editor, and cook, Mr. Michael Penny. This is the man, this is him. And please welcome from Palm Springs. He just arrived yesterday from Palm Springs. The most incredible co-star you could ever ask for, Robbie Wayne. We also have the director of photography. He was also the cinematographer. He was also the lighting designer. We'll explain all that in a few minutes. Jeff Wager. He drove down from Vermont with his lovely wife, his new wife, Stefani Wager. Stefani was our production assistant and what we call everything girl. She did everything. She helped us if we needed a comb, if we needed if we needed a script, anything. Stephanie, where are you at? Come down. Come on.
Come on, you have to.
Okay. So what did you? Over there. And here's the fabulous Stephanie Wager. And please welcome our host for the Q&A, New York's own, one and only, Michael Musto.
Congrats, everybody. Didn't you love it? I think the moral of the movie is that we all have junk, but that doesn't necessarily make us trash. Now, the obvious first question, Robbie, how did you masturbate and sing at the same time?
I've been doing it for years.
In fact, that was like an ad-lib, wasn't it? Tim, how many toes did Miss Lily really have?
Yeah, right. I'm not sure. Maybe 1.5.
Now, wow. Miss Lily was based on a real person.
Absolutely.
Would you say Miss Lily was a gay male? Not transgender.
Trans. I think she'd almost be.
I don't think she regarded herself. I don't think she regarded herself as trans. I
Right.
don't think she just wore women's clothes a lot. And, you know, she worked at this little flea market in Raleigh. And she was so, I mean, the rednecks could do nothing about it. So eventually they just became accustomed to her.
It's like Tim right here in New York. Now, I know it was very important to you to capture Miss Lily, and I know you got response from people who knew Miss Lily. What did they tell you?
Oh my God, that was also very overwhelming. We had a screening in North Carolina where Miss Lily was from, and there were two groups of people that were there. One group over here that she was part of, Miss Lily, so they knew her, and one lady had her picture, and they're sitting over in the front over here, and there was another group over here where one man dressed in drag to pay homage to her. And at the end of or during the Q&A immediately following, the first one up was the man in drag, and he just looked at me and said, "Tim, you are Miss Lily." And I lost it. So I don't care what anybody has to say about me ever about my performance in this movie, as long as those two groups, I got their seal of approval. That meant the world to me.
Tim is such a good crier. It's like, Tim, it's chilly out. Oh, it is? Now, Michael, you have a lot of wonderful cinematic references through the movie, like Grey Garden, Sound of Music, Dark Victory, and of course you talk about Tennessee Williams. There's a whole song about Streetcar. I felt maybe the movie was based on Sweet Bird of Youth. Any truth to that?
Well, I'm sure, you know, another one that I love, so maybe I figured in a little bit of that.
Subconscious.
Maybe subconsciously.
Well, a lot of the film is about the intergenerational relationship, and if you read Facebook, you hear these arguments of millennials being mad at the boomers and vice versa. Was that part of the basis of what made you write this piece? The intergenerational hostility that, especially within the gay community sometimes.
Perhaps primarily, but then, things evolve, but that stayed part of its premise. It's conflict throughout. Earlier versions of the play probably emphasized that a little bit more, and eventually the characters began to, predominate, and their just personal conflicts came to the fore of it. But that was still there as the foundation.
Now you shot in North Carolina where it's set, and North Carolina has some very cool people. Raleigh is it a college town?
Raleigh.
But North Carolina also has some Nazis, let's face it. Now, what kind of response did you people get? Here we are, a bunch of queers putting on a show in North Carolina.
I want to say something about that, because the day that they brought the possum onto the set, we were all there because we lived on set, and it was fantastic. It was this little like ghost town. Nobody lived there. There was a hotel, there was a feed store, there was a post office, and we all lived together for like 5 weeks
In that house.
In that house. So we had porn everywhere, and so Michael says, "Okay, so the possum's coming today." So we're all excited, and we hear something coming down the road, and it's this Harley Davidson motorcycle, and I mean, it's hardcore. This guy, he pulls up, he looked like he would shoot you rather than even be bothered with you. And I looked at Michael, and I said, "Michael, did you tell him what we were actually doing here? We've got gay porn strung from ceiling to the floor." And so I ran inside, and I was telling Tim, I was like, "Tim, this guy's out here, he's going to kill us when he sees what's going on. What's going to happen?" And do you know that guy was as sweet and just genuine as he could be? And he really surprised us all.
Did he have a MAGA hat?
He didn't have one on. I have no idea what was going on with him.
More importantly, was the possum SAG-AFTRA?
The possum was fantastic. We all got
Almost stole the whole movie. Stephanie and Jeffrey, how many people were involved in the production of this film?
Besides us, there were 3 other people: a sound person,
Yeah.
a producer, and another PA.
Yeah, and Skylar. Yeah, when I flew down there, because I've done a lot of independent films, and probably the smallest crew I've ever seen was maybe 15 to 20 people. I get down there was 7 of us, cast and crew, to make this movie.
We made up the whole entire town.
And each person did 15 jobs.
Absolutely.
And they did them well.
And I just have to say, that man right there, Jeffrey Dwager, oh my God, he came down with his SUV packed with equipment, with camera equipment, lenses, stands, lights,
Full jib,
everything. Yeah, a jib,
drone,
which is like a crane.
All kinds of things.
And yeah, tell them, because I loved watching you work.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 7-person cast and crew. It was a wonderful working experience, honestly. Working on independent films like this, when you're in the trenches with people for that long, we'd wrap and then be like, all right, well, let's get a beer and start blocking tomorrow.
Yeah.
What else are we doing? We're sitting here all night.
How did you maximize the use of the house? Because I noticed you used every crevice of that place.
There was a lot of things that Michael had ideas about where he wanted to go with it, and then there was other things that just kind of flowed naturally, as Robbie would, work with, choreographing this whole thing. He and I would work together in terms of like, where do you want to land, and I'd like you to be in the light pool over here. So, and then we just kind of do the...
And you used a lot of natural light and daylight.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, I don't know if anyone else caught it, there's some day for night in there that there's a couple backgrounds where it's like, oh. But it goes by pretty quick, so.
But it was amazing, because
Yeah.
in the morning, we would all get together, or Michael and Jeffrey and Robbie and I, and Michael would say, okay, we're shooting in this room today. So we would go into that room, and we would figure out, like, okay, Robbie's gonna be over here, I'm gonna be over here, and then we'll do the scene, and then he'll leave and walk out this way. And you could just see in Jeff's eyes, just going, okay, I can get a shoe shot here, I can get a close-up of him, I'll need this light, and we'll have a light on, okay, get out. And then we'd all go out and we'd go rehearse, and he would set every light, every can, he could see the shot, and it was just amazing to watch that.
And there's a song every 5 minutes in the show, so we had to figure out what we're gonna do with each song, you
You had to
know?
get them to different places. The play took place in one room. And so, really, the dialogue hasn't changed. It's just we keep moving them through the house.
And on the
roof. One night we were going,
The trees.
get them out of this white room. And so, one night, Tim and I were saying, well, let's let them go out the window. And that's how that stuff.
But then the problem came, oh, he's up on the roof, how are we gonna get him down? And then we realized there's that tree in front. And I don't know if anybody really noticed, but at the beginning of that scene, where I blow the smoke in his face and he yells at me and then crosses the roof, by the time he gets down the tree, I'm sitting there on the porch. That was all done in one take.
It took 25 to get there.
Yes, 27 times.
27? I climbed that tree 27 times. I would get halfway down and say, cut!
And I was the only non-smoker and I had to light up 27 cigarettes.
And Michael, I know how fertile your mind is, because a few years ago, out of the blue, he sends me, oh, I wrote a song about you, Musto, and it's like a 40-page song in rhymed couplets, and it was genius.
That was because, I did that because you had posted a song I sent to you from my little musical about Betty Davis and John Crawford, and I was so grateful for you giving me that little bit of attention.
I'm a giver. Now we're going to open the house to questions, but Robbie, one last thing. What was it like to work with this one? And let's make him cry one more time.
You know, I did the show, the play. That's how I was brought into this in Palm Springs, because we did...
Seemed like you knew your lines.
We did the play, yeah. We had done the play, and I did it with a completely different person's idea of the character. So when Michael Penny says, okay, I've got this guy, you're gonna love him. We show up, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be cool. This feels right. And within, I would say, 3 hours, we were inseparable for the rest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for the rest.
Did you have sex?
No, we did not. Too busy singing. We were too busy singing, and we were, you know, I prefer magazines and to be singing at the same time.
So seriously, Possum, we were exhausted by day's end after all the shooting schedule.
Tim, I've never known you to be too exhausted to have sex.
But the chemistry between these two, wasn't it magical?
Lovely, yeah. It's really charming. Anybody in the audience have any questions for this crew now that you've experienced Junk the Musical? Yes.
Well, you clearly did a lot with very little in terms of the budget and the production team and everything. But with the musical numbers, that last number was like a full orchestra, so how did that come about?
Yeah.
That's my secret.
YouTube karaoke tracks. No, you had like violins and it sounded like a full orchestra for some of the songs.
Yeah. Well, I have very good musical notation software, and I've been using it for about 11 years, and so I know it like the back of my hand. And so,
Wow.
Did you put on the instrument?
I orchestrated in the sound.
All of it.
Yeah.
You did it all.
Everything.
He won't just say it, he did it all.
Right.
All the music. He wrote it,
And he
he wrote it, he
cooked, too.
created it, all him.
If I didn't do it, he would.
Is he a good cook? Is he a good cook?
The best.
Oh my God, he's
The
wonderful.
biscuits, oh my
And because that's what was so amazing, was he would be directing and focused on what shots we're doing and how we're doing this, and then it was like, okay, it's time for lunch, and he would just go in the kitchen, and within like 15 minutes, this whole spread for us. But I think it worked because it kind of took you out of directing and shifted his mind over to something else for a little while.
If I didn't do it, we couldn't have afforded to have the movie.
Yeah.
Let's just take a couple more. Any more questions?
Nice.
So with indie films, people are very creative about how they raise money. Could you share some of your creativity?
We said, Michael, open up your pocketbook.
Yeah.
And it was all you, right, Michael?
Well, you know,
Here we go again.
This is his baby.
Absolutely.
Everything's him.
well, I mean, of course, it was my money, and it's a total vanity project. But the thing is, my mother passed on, and at that time, before that, the reading had happened, and, you know, I had the choice either to sit on a beach in Europe for the rest of my adult life, or to make a movie, and that's what I did. Thank you, Mom.
Did you do a Kickstarter, Go Fuck Yourself, or one of those, or it was all your own money? One more question, then we're gonna go to the after party now.
Oh, yes, there is an after party over at Josie Woods, which is on, it's around the corner on LaGuardia Place, I think 11 LaGuardia, or not,
11 Waverly
Waverly
Place.
Place. 11 Waverly Place, yeah, which is right around the corner. I would love everybody to go over, so.
Just to hang out.
Saray.
Such a beautiful, heartfelt, amazing film, and Miss Lily, you know, in the legacy of the divine character, there needs to be more Miss Lily.
Oh, yeah, I
And more
agree.
you. Independent films are so hard to make, and then when you throw
Not as hard to make as it is hard to get screened, to get people's attention. And I'm sorry. Making a film is not that hard. You know, I bet we could have made this film for $10,000.
How long did it take to make this film?
A month. The reason we were able to make it is 2 characters, 1 set,
Yeah.
and you know, obviously, you know, and I'm.
So the challenge is getting it in festivals, getting it screened, getting it
Yeah.
distributed.
It's hard for someone to look at a film like this, 2 characters. This film does not play the same on a screener by yourself than it does in this audience.
Absolutely.
You know, but the effect in an audience with this film is always the same. They gasp when the
Yeah.
dishes break.
Right.
They, you know, they laugh at all the same places, and but it's just really hard to get it seen. You know.
My question, forgive me, and just to say, it's so difficult to make a regular dialogue film, but to make a musical is incredible. I don't think people realize. How did you handle? Did you play playback during the filming and then record later, or just?
We recorded the songs ahead of time.
She was asking about how being a musical, it's difficult enough for dialogue, but having music added, so.
Right. We went to the studio and recorded the songs, and then when there was sections of dialogue that occurred with the music in the songs, we would just completely cut that out, and we would record that live on the set, and then we would mix that in later. So we never got to hear it really until it was all finished. Yeah.
Well, thank you for making a very special film, and we will see you at the party.